Hi everyone, and welcome to another Centrick Uncovered video. My name's Sam Deffley. I look after the property integrations and new business opportunities for building and estate management. We wanted to do something a little bit different for this video, or for this series of videos. We thought it would be quite insightful to show everyone how we approach a tender opportunity, whether that's to do with the initial opportunity that comes in and how we engage with the client, and then the due diligence that we undertake on the building and the client if it's a new client, and heading to site and understanding the building a little bit more and putting together a management proposal for the client's consideration. Fingers crossed it will be a successful tender, and then we get to follow this development and client through our integration process, which I think again will be really insightful to show the extent that the team go to obtain all the right information and set up all our systems as diligently as possible. And we then might be able to follow it through the management process as well, or for at least the first 3-4 months, something like that. And then that will give an introduction to the various different team members and how our integration team interacts with the business development side, but then also into the operational side, and within the operational team, how the finance and compliance teams all come together to present our service offering. So as it happens, we had a perfect opportunity come in earlier this week. This is actually from an existing freeholder client. And when we say freeholder client, they are effectively an asset manager whose clients purchase property as their investment. They're representing various pension funds and much like, and they require a managing agent to manage their client's asset for them. So that's where we come in. We're on the panel of managing agents that this asset manager uses. So although it's an existing client, it's still very much a competitive tender exercise. So we've had the email come in. I was going to highlight a couple of the points which they want us to focus on within the tender. So in terms of what this particular client's looking for, they've set out in an email some of the main focus areas that they want us to work with. Of course, resident engagement and communication is a really key point for them. No one ever moves managing agent because everything's going really well, and the most common point that we hear about is poor communication. With the Building Safety Act now, fully enforced, and with the resident engagement requirements off the back of that, this is something which I think we're really well set up for. We've got our customer portal, which is really engaging, both between the property manager, property assistant, and the customers. So I think that's a very good point to focus in on. Staffing, they don't believe that there's any staff that work on site as a full-time position for the current agent, which means that there won't be any 2P requirements. If there was, that would be something that we'd want to know about at this early stage. Major works, of course, large amounts of expenditure, Section 20 consultations, lots of important information that we need to make sure that we get hold of during handover. So they want some reassurance that we have the due diligence and the skill set in-house to understand and extract that information from the agent. Rules and regulations, really this is about how we enforce the lease covenants with the tenants, using helpful guides and that sort of thing. So they would like to see some examples of previous guides that we've produced, which is fine. And then of course budgets and accounts, and this is more about who will undertake the accounts and the budgets depending on the year end and the start date for the new agent. So more about clarifying the point for us. And then of course the big one, health and safety, compliance, fire risk assessments. Really what I think they're looking for here is to understand what we do in-house, what systems we have to ensure that their client's asset is protected, but also whether we use external contractors and surveyors, and if there's any arrangements in there that we think would be important to put in the tender. So as you would expect, quite a comprehensive list of focus areas for us, but nothing we weren't expecting to see anyway. Next steps for us is to go to site, try and understand the building, its makeup, what sorts of challenges we think we might face if we were appointed as the agent, and any new focus areas that we can highlight within our proposal that would be of benefit to both the residents and the clients. So I will come back to you in a couple of days' time and we'll go through the site findings. Hi guys, you joined me here on a sunny Monday morning in South Birmingham. We're here to have a look at this development behind me for our tender. I think what I'll probably do is do the externals first. We'll have a look round, see what kind of condition it's in, make our way inside, have a walk through the internal common areas, and I think they've got an underground car park by the looks of it, so it'd be good to get in there and see if there's any leaks and that sort of thing. So come with me, we'll have a look round. Right, so really when it comes to the externals, we're looking for any repair work or defects in the guttering and rainwater goods, pointing in the brickwork, any sort of staining from the overflow pipes, anything that could shed some light on repairs that are needed and things that we can focus on in the proposal. Obviously, with the Building Safety Act in and the concerns around external walls in apartment blocks, we're going to be looking at what sort of materials are in the external walls that we can easily identify. Now this looks mainly brickwork with render. Okay, so obviously we've got some broken stones there along the railings into the car park. Now these steps don't look fantastic. They could definitely do with a good clean, and obviously don't want to have a slip hazard, especially in these winter months when it starts icing over. Grounds maintenance wise, it's fairly well maintained. It's tidy. It'd probably be nice to rebar, mulch all of these areas. That would probably make it look a little bit more loved. And of course, risk assessment will pull up a maximum height requirement as well. So it's good that they've got that in place. Now we've got some, in fact, speaking of the gates, so we've got some sensors here, which is a good sign. And I can't actually see inside, although I can see some more sensors on the wall in there. They have got safety edges as well, and the safety edges along the bottom. Okay, great. These guys have got a notice board. Let's have a look, see how useful all this information is. So I'm looking really for the fire escape plan and what to do in the event of a fire. So here we go. Okay, so this particular guidance feels a little bit outdated. It doesn't specifically say whether it's a stay put plan or an evacuation. Now I didn't see any, well, I didn't see a fire alarm at the main entrance, nor can I see any sounders anywhere. So that would suggest it is a stay put, but it doesn't specifically say that it's safe to stay in your apartment if a fire breaks out elsewhere in the building. So somewhat useful, but could be clearer, something we'd look to change. And we've got all the contact information here for the managing agents, which is great. Change in number as of March 2018. Kind of suggests this might be a little bit out of date, but the main thing is cleaners visits and car park visits, different contractors for cleaning the car park and the common areas. But that all seems up to date. Last visit was 25th, 1st, 24. Okay, so checking these communal doors, those fire doors. Okay, so we have a sticker which shows that they have been inspected. It's not dated though, which would be helpful. So we have these expanding strips, although it looks like they've been painted over. I mean, it's got the door closer. Does it sit flush in the frame? Let's see. Not really. It looks a little warped actually. It's flush at the bottom, not at the top, so yeah, I think a fire door survey would be necessary based on that one alone. Okay, let's have a look at another one. Yeah, exactly the same, the strips have been painted over. Yeah, so that would be one of our recommendations, is that we have a fire door survey undertaken. Okay, so lift, it was a Coney lift originally. It's very quiet. Sounds like smooth operation, that's a good sign. Let's just poke our heads inside and see what the carriage looks like. Okay, well, nice and clean. Yeah, no complaints there. Pretty well maintained. Okay, so overall the internals appear to be fairly well maintained. Very, very simple building to look after. What I would say that I think our main focus for this proposal is going to be more around the resident engagement side. It's often a common frustration that freeholders and managers have around their agent not engaging with their residents properly. So I think if we can talk about our customer portal and how this really helps enhance communication with both residents and leaseholders, I think that would be a good focus area for us. Right, let's have a look outside. Set out the rear entrance, see what we have. Okay, so got a bit of a trip hazard here. In fact, these are all a little loose, slightly concerning. Okay, but I mean, hedging and shrubs wise, it all looks fairly well maintained. So we have some private terraces here. A few personal belongings. We've got a dreaded bamboo fencing, which the fire risk assessor does not like. We might have to look at having a conversation with that resident to have that taken down. Okay. Now, these trees don't seem to be causing an issue, but they also doesn't look like they're really being cut back or haven't been for a long time. So it could be that we need to have some sort of cyclical maintenance in place for that. Certainly a recommendation. Okay, and then we come up. Geez, it's quite slippy actually. Just be careful on your step on the way up there. Well, at least these ones are all level. No trip hazards on the way down now. Nice and secure. Okay. Well, as it's not raining, but there is water pouring through here, it looks like this is potentially a bit of a drainage issue from those terraces. It's been going on for some time. You can see how stained the stonework is. It looks like the pointing is quite badly damaged as well from here. So we have some drainage holes, but it just seems to be seeping through all the cracks as well. Something that we would recommend having looked into. Okay, and again here, it looks like the stonework started to sink. Of course, having uneven paving on the steps is one thing, but it's actually quite concerning that it's all started to sink down in the middle. Okay, something else for us to have a look at maybe. Okay, so we have the underground car park. Looks like we have some private storage doors or rooms. Well, straight away I can tell that's not a fire door, so you can see right through gaps in between. We have an EV charger installed, which presumably the leaseholder or resident has done themselves. Normally you'd need permission from the freeholder for something like that. Now, it's quite common for there to be leaks in underground car park. This one seems quite watertight though, which is a good sign. I am seeing lots of personal items being stored, which although technically is a breach of lease, it'd be interesting to have the risk assessor's opinion on these, because we're effectively storing, you know, wooden shelving units, which I don't think they'll be best pleased with. So I'm assuming this is a bin store. Yep. Okay. I mean, it's a bin store. It's fairly clean. No concerns there. What I do find interesting though is that there hasn't been a fire alarm panel anywhere in the building or the car park. I thought I'd at least find one down here. Now at 25 units over, what is it, 4 floors? I'm surprised that there isn't a requirement to have one. They've got emergency lighting and they've got the 2 AOVs. I didn't even see any smoke detectors. So I think that has to be a focus area for our proposal, is understanding the compliance requirements and making sure that this building has everything that it needs to protect the residents and protect the building. Okay, so quite a simple development really. There's a few health and safety concerns, bit of cleaning, bit of long-term planning, and I think I'd like to understand a little bit more about those compliance pieces. So I think that would be our main focus areas for the proposal, but join me back at the office, we'll bring it all together and show you how we present this sort of thing to the client. Right, so we're back in the office following our site inspection in South Birmingham for this development that we're tendering for. Fairly straightforward development really. There isn't a huge amount of major issues that we need to be focusing on for the proposal. We do want to, zero in on improving customer communications. There's a few repairs that are outstanding and a few leak investigations for us to do. So in terms of the highlights for us, we're going to be recommending a long-term maintenance plan so that we can make sure that all those larger repairs are planned in for, so we don't have these steep budget increases each year. The front door maglock wasn't working. We were just able to walk straight in, so that leaves the development unsecure for residents, so we need to investigate that quickly, get that repaired. I want to update all the signage. This isn't a brand thing, this is more around the fire safety and the directions that we're giving to residents. We need that to be really crystal clear on what they do in the event of a fire, and I wasn't really sold on the wording of the current signage there. And really the lack of fire alarm, whilst it may be acceptable in some scenarios, I really want to look into that fire risk assessment, make sure that there isn't an outstanding recommendation for one to be installed. It has got the 2 AOVs, and whilst I'm not going to sit here and say what's compliant and what isn't, I want to make sure that we've got all the documentation to evidence that everything is where it should be in terms of that compliance piece. So we'll do a full review of that on integration anyway, but that's something which I want to focus on in the proposal. And then really the customer comms piece is going to be huge. So whether we're doing updates on our customer portal, our portal allows residents to put maintenance requests on and then they can track that through to completion. So giving them that visibility and transparency is something that I think the client will really like. We want to do some newsletters, both sort of hard copies on notice boards and digital copies on the portal. And what I think would go down well is if we set out a few tangible actions that we can complete within, say, a 3-month period, and then set up a resident meeting for sort of at the end of that 3-month period, then we get to demonstrate, look, we've set out these things, we've managed to achieve them already, your development's in safe hands, we're going to work with you to make these improvements. I know that for our current clients, resident engagement has, it's always been important, but even more so now, especially with the Building Safety Act coming in. So yeah, those are going to be the main points. We'll create a proposal, send it off to the client, and hopefully our next video will be a win for us. So I'll come back to you shortly.